and whenever I highlight this, people get very very upset that you're drawing the parallel between them. But there is a definite overlap with anti-vax and being super staunchly pro-Brexit. I don't know what it is, and I'm sure it's not.
Oh, it's a Venn diagram of country, definitely. Like it's essentially people that are not necessarily very informed, but are desperate to be a part of something. That's what I think.
Yeah.
Stroke scared. Some people are scared. Fair enough. That's fine to an extent. But it is a lot of ignorance, a lot of not understanding, therefore kind of making it a common enemy, I think, perhaps.
I read a tweet yesterday from her name escapes me now, but it was from a Guardian journalist, I think, and she posted these pictures of WhatsApp conversations with her father. And she was like, can anybody give me some advice or guidance as to how I'm supposed to handle this situation with my dad? But basically it was like, he was just blinkered, just tunnel visioned about the risks of COVID. And he had previously suffered some sort of health issue. And so she was, you know, like hysterically worried that he was going to succumb to this. And his attitude to it, like she was posting him, you know, news articles saying fit and healthy 40-year-old with no previous health issues dead from COVID. And she's like, does this sound familiar? You know, does this remind you of anyone? And because the guy had sort of dismissed risk and dismissed warnings about it. And his attitude was like, nah, sounds like a weakling, you know, like it's this complete abandonment of common sense and personal risk, because my gut feel is that people love the ego strokey nature of being able to be a bit of a strong man, a bit of a hard man about it. Like, you know,
the dark side of masculinity, isn't it? In some senses, like the guys who are kind of like, oh, you're not a real man unless you eat a really hot chili, you know, or grow a full beard, you know, that kind of attitude. But
it's like it's if you had a full, like if you ate a chili, that's you're gonna sweat a lot and you're gonna beg for some sort of yogurt drink and shit
milk,
yourself.
Get your milk in you.
But like that's a bad night, but you'll get over it, right? But for something like COVID, like I would imagine that. And I did a TikTok about this yesterday about how your ego should kind of kick in and go like, well, hang on a second. You know, I love to talk it up. I love to be the big man and say, oh, you know, my immune system's fucking second to none. I can fight that shit off. I can fight off a nasty cold, you know, that. Yeah. But then your ego should kick in and go like, well, now that I've said all that shit, if I do get it and I die, how many hundreds of thousands of people are going to laugh at me and like post my picture on Reddit forums and tweet about how much of an idiot like that's what kicks in with me. I'm like, I don't ever want to be the guy that people laugh at his stupid death, you know?
Well, people are thinking like that. I mean, the thing is, I've made a few videos and I know it's not necessarily always helpful to call people Covidiots, but sometimes when you've been making videos like this for a while and you're immersed in it, you get the fear, the anger, you get to a point where you're just so fed up with it that you might lash out and go, oh, they're all wankers. That's the problem. But I've not felt anything but immense sadness reading the stories of people that have left behind kids and that have died from avoidable deaths. Like, I'm not out to mock it. I think anyone that mocks people like that who have died as a consequence is twatty. But at the same time, you know, that should be enough of a warning call to people. But it's like, you know, it's we're living in a post-truth era, aren't we? I mean, facts are not being absorbed. You know, Gove started all that, didn't he? With the, you know, we don't believe experts thing to justify Brexit, and all the facts that they called Project Fear, etc. Which is probably why I think there's a lot of Brexity folk that are anti-vax. I think it's a
and in
correlation between those.
In that sense, it takes quite strong character, I think, to not go low in those exchanges, because like both you and I know from the comment sections on various videos that things can take an ugly turn very quickly, and I find that I get an awful lot of abuse before the conversation even really gets going. Like, it would be easier to empathize and to have sympathy and to not be twatty about people who end up on Reddit forums if they weren't so fucking deliriously, deliciously happy about their side of the argument before. Like, it's like if I put up a video about, like, you know, I really think it's important that as many people get jabbed as possible to provide some sort of protection on a societal level, blah blah blah, within seconds
That's how it works.
I will get comments from people saying, like, you fucking sheep, you're gonna get side effects in 2 years and your kids will be fatherless, like shitty comments like that, and then I'm supposed to be the bigger person after
exactly that. And you know, I'd like to borrow their fucking crystal ball that tells us all this stuff, because it's just like, well, if you're saying that this is going to definitely happen in 2 years' time, how do you not know that in 2 years' time we're not going to have vaccinated people and we're going to have it reduced to something that's no more than like some kind of like flu-like yearly booster thing? Like, how?
Right.
What? Because there's no factual basis. It's just like people go, oh, what about Labour? It's just what aboutism. That's a pandemic. Idiocy is a pandemic at the moment.
It's like that guy's tweet, or maybe the tweet was a quote of something, I don't know, like where they said we're battling two pandemics, like one of COVID and one of stupidity, right?
Yeah.